And then complexity last. There was a question earlier about the comment was that you write too scientifically, and that's possibly something you can fix by using this method here. The newest, most complex information goes last. This principle is particularly important in three contexts. So we're talking about scientific writing when you introduce a technical term, and most of us in most faculties, we are writing about technical terms. There's jargon that's specific to a certain area. And you need to think about when you introduce those technical terms. And this is something that you maybe haven't actually explicitly thought about. But when you write, try and introduce new technical terms that the reader has not yet been explicitly introduced to in your writing at the end of your sentences. Obviously, it's going to have to come somewhere in your writing because you need to start conveying these to the reader to take them on your journey. But whether you put them at the beginning or the end of a sentence makes a dramatic difference to the flow of your writing, the coherence and the level of meaning with which you can write. And then the second bullet point, importantly there, if you're presenting a unit of information that is long and complex, so whether it's chemical engineering or medicine or maths or physics, most areas are going to have some sort of units of information, some sort of level of complexity. Some is going to be more than others, but try and put that at the end of the sentence. And then when you introduce a concept that you intend to develop in what follows, once again, this combines with the previous principle of old before new. Make sure that you introduce a technical term by building up to it, and then you're going to develop on with that technical term in the sentences that follow. So complexity last will help reduce this perception that you're writing too scientifically. And it may be that you don't have to scrap the writing that you've done. You just have to rearrange where topics and pieces of information occur in your sentences, in what sequence you bring them in sentences, and how you reinforce them at what stages in your writing. So, what can be quite demotivating for students is to have a lot of red pen all over their writing and told that it's too scientific, or they have run-on sentences, for example. But then what are the tools and tricks and techniques to go and change that writing? And very often we think, well, you have to start again. And that's terrible, because then you go back to a blank sheet of paper and you've lost the motivation. Take what you've got, just rearrange, reorder the topics in your sentences in the way that I've taught you this afternoon. Good day, I need some advice. How can I improve my writing skills if currently my writing skills fall under the boring, simple English level? Do I read more books and write more? Absolutely, always read more books and write more. And again, it was sort of what we were talking about earlier. Boring and simple English is going to convey meaning much better than sort of complex, academic, obstructed, cluttered, long sentences. It is. There's absolutely no question about it. The trap that we fall into is that we often read, journals and academic writing, and we see what we think is complex writing. And we see, much more senior researchers and professors, etc., writing and things in ways that we can't understand. There's often just the content that they're writing about that we perceive as being too technical and scientific, and therefore their writing is complex. But if we were familiar with their content, we would probably see that their sentence construction is also simple, plain, and boring. And anybody, I think, can be criticized for choosing words that are more technical or difficult, whereas we should always be choosing words that are the simplest version. And I skipped on this quote earlier, but it's a very good quote, just to touch on over here quickly. And Mark Twain says, "I didn't have time to write a short letter, so I wrote a long one instead." And what he's saying here is that it actually takes more work to convey the same amount of meaning in fewer words and clearer, more concise writing. So we think that we have to write a lot, and we have to write with long sentences and complex, difficult words. Now, that might be the first version of your writing, but your second, third, fourth, fifth versions must actually get shorter, more concise, more clearer, and with, as we've learned now, a rearrangement of where you put the topics in the sentences. And as we answered to the question just now in the webinar, some of that content, dense, scientific, technical information going into appendices. And how's it to Darren? Darren, so good to hear from you, bud. Darren Belanco, one of the greatest internet marketers. If you guys need websites or support or digital marketing expertise, please do get in touch with Darren. Darren has helped me with my websites and my digital marketing over many years. So Darren says there, thanks for the tips, Peter. I've always found it difficult to write about very technical topics. I think this will be very helpful. Okay, guys, so fantastic, Darren. Appreciate that. And guys, I'm going to give you access into my courses just now so you can go and get all the information at your leisure and always have access to it as well. Red pen is really demotivating. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And there are a couple of good books out there that'll help you. So just, other sources that you can go and look at to help polish up and sort of finalize your writing to give it that clarity and meaning before you hand it in. The Economist, very amazing. They write about very difficult terms, but if you read their sentences, follows all the principles that we've been talking about today. And they publish a style guide as well. And that's actually a very thin book, amazingly. You should just always have a copy of that handy. So as we've spoken about sentence length, the choice of words, are you concise in your writing? Is your grammar clear? Your spelling correct? Your punctuation? And then convention. So the 7th point there, you are going to have different conventions for different faculties. So just be aware of those. And a good tip for you guys is if you have supervisors and you're writing research reports, go and read their PhD, go and read their journal articles that they have submitted, and you'll see their style of writing, the conventions that they use. And, certainly it will help you to write in a way that if they're reading your writing, that they are familiar with it already, because it's the style and approach that they use to write as well. Okay, great, guys. So don't know if there's any more questions, but I think we can all relate to how, theses are written in blood, sweat, tears, and lots of coffee sitting late at night. And, I think we've seen today just how sometimes this can cause a real struggle in our lives and a lot of demotivation coming through there.